Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS, FANS. Let's get to the news in what could be one of the more surprising and strategic moves of this NFL offseason. Whispers are swirling around the potential trade that could see Patrick Surtain, one of the league's rising star cornerbacks, donning the red and black of the Atlanta Falcons. Reports from insider sources, including the ever-reliable Diana Rossini, suggest that the Denver Broncos are considering trading Surtain to Atlanta in exchange for a second-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. It's a deal that could reshape the Falcons' secondary, elevate their defense, and give them a real shot at contending even more seriously in the NFC. Now let's dig into what this move could mean, because it's not just about acquiring a talented player. It's about the Falcons making a statement that they're serious about building a championship-caliber defense. The Broncos, as some might have expected, are in a bit of a rebuild mode after a disappointing season that saw them finish 5-12. Their roster has been hit hard by injuries, bad luck, and underperformance, especially on defense. The recent struggles of the Broncos, who allowed an average of about 260 passing yards per game, have made them keen to shake things up, and that's where Surtain comes into play. Patrick Surtain, for those who follow the league closely, has blossomed into one of the league's premier cover corners. Coming out of Alabama, he was a top 5 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, and ever since, he has shown why he was so highly regarded. His ability to lock down the opponent's best receiver, combined with his high football IQ and physicality, makes him a nightmare for quarterbacks. Last season, his PFF grade was an impressive 91.5, and he allowed just 56. 8% completions on passes targeted his way, with a yards per target of only 5.8. That's elite-level coverage, folks, and it's exactly what the Falcons need to improve their secondary, which has struggled with injuries and consistency lately. The Falcons, currently sitting at 8-9, have been battling through some significant injuries and inconsistent play on defense. Their secondary in particular has been leaky, giving up an average of 245 passing yards per game, a number that's far too high for a team aiming for the playoffs. With players like A.J. Terrell, who has been a standout, and the promising but injured Hughes, the Falcons have some building blocks, but they need that extra piece to truly solidify their pass defense. Adding Surtain would be like giving this unit a shot of adrenaline, a veteran presence who can immediately elevate their game and serve as a cornerstone for the future. What's especially intriguing about this potential trade is how it could complement the Falcons' current roster. The team has been very active in restructuring contracts, freeing up around $6 million in cap space by reworking Terrell's deal, which shows their commitment to making bold moves. Acquiring Surtain would not only bring immediate impact, but also send a message to the NFC South and the league that Atlanta is serious about becoming a defensive powerhouse again. Think about the possibilities, pairing Surtain with Terrell, creating one of the most formidable cornerback duos in the league, capable of shutting down top receivers and forcing turnovers. That kind of secondary can transform a defense from good to elite, and with the Falcons' front seven improving, it's a recipe for real success. Now let's talk a bit about the Broncos' perspective. They're sitting on a cap hit of over $65 million for 2026, which puts them in a tricky spot financially. They're focusing on rebuilding their offensive line through the draft, especially after a tough season that saw Stroud's hype fade a bit. Trading away Surtain, who is still on his rookie deal and under team control for several more years, could give them some cap relief and help them draft for needs on the offensive line. Plus, they've already shown a willingness to move key players for picks, like how Gilmore's trade helped the Colts elevate their secondary and rack up 10 more interceptions last season. The Broncos' focus now seems to be on building around their young quarterback and fixing the offensive line, which is critical for their long-term success. For the Falcons, this move would be a clear statement that they're all in on competing now. Surtain's presence would significantly bolster their secondary, which has been somewhat inconsistent and vulnerable to big plays. His ability to neutralize top receivers would help the Falcons control the passing game against NFC South rivals like the Saints and the Panthers, who are trying to develop their offenses. Surtain's career stats are already impressive: 275 tackles, 12 interceptions, 64 pass breakups, and a career PFF grade of 91. 5, showing he's not just a shutdown corner, but also a playmaker. His stats from this past season, including 35 solo tackles and 1 interception, further demonstrate his consistency and impact. What's more, Surtain's skill set aligns perfectly with the Falcons' defensive philosophy. His man-to-man coverage win rate is around 70%, and he excels at forcing incompletions and limiting big plays. The Falcons have been vulnerable to explosive passing, especially with injuries to Hughes and other secondary pieces. So adding a player like Surtain could be the missing piece to reduce those big yardage gains and turn more of those plays into incomplete passes or turnovers. His ability to cover in the slot, his instincts, and his size make him a matchup nightmare for receivers and a key piece in Atlanta's vision of a dominant defense. Looking ahead, the Falcons are also mindful of the bigger picture. The team's cap situation is manageable. They have around $3 million in cap space right now, but they're actively working to create more room through restructures and extensions. Bringing in a high-caliber player like Surtain could be a game-changer, especially if they manage to re-sign or extend key players like Terrell, creating a long-term core that can be competitive for years to come. This move would also send a strong message to the NFC South and the rest of the league. The Falcons are not just rebuilding, they're rebuilding smart, with an eye on winning now and building a dynasty on the defensive side of the ball. When we look at the bigger picture, this potential trade echoes the kinds of moves that have historically propelled teams to Super Bowl victories. Think about the Seahawks with Richard Sherman or the Patriots with their lockdown corners. They all played pivotal roles during their championship runs. Surtain, with his skill set and youth, could be that kind of player for Atlanta, especially if paired with a solid front seven and a secondary that can create turnovers. The Falcons' coaching staff would surely be highlighting how this addition could help them beat NFC South rivals and make a real push in the playoffs, maybe even beyond. As for the odds, the Falcons' chances to make a deep run could see a bump, perhaps from plus 9,000 to plus 5,000 in Super Bowl betting, reflecting how a strong secondary can be the difference maker in close games. The NFC has become more competitive, with teams like the 49ers, Eagles, and Cowboys all presenting serious threats, but Atlanta's revamped defense with Surtain in the fold could give them that extra edge. Their playoff chances would improve, especially if they can contain high-powered offenses that currently threaten to torch their secondary. And let's not forget Surtain's proven track record of forcing turnovers, plus his ability to cover elite receivers, makes him a true X-factor in high-stakes matchups. Remember how the Seahawks used Sherman in their Super Bowl run, or how the Patriots relied on their secondary to shut down top offenses? That's the kind of impact Surtain could have for the Falcons. His presence could help them lock down divisional rivals and set the tone for a more aggressive, ball-hawking defense that forces turnovers and flips field position, a key component in winning games in December and January. In conclusion, this potential trade isn't just about adding a talented player. It's about Atlanta taking a strategic step towards becoming a dominant force in the NFC. Surtain's skill, youth, and proven production make him a perfect fit for the Falcons' blueprint of building a championship-winning team. By acquiring him, they're signaling that they're ready to contend, ready to make a splash, and ready to challenge the NFC's best. An exciting prospect for every Falcons fan eager for another shot at the Super Bowl glory. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to US and TO, the Atlanta Falcons. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Atlanta Falcons news.